did you never knight me? Did you think I'd leave you?
One of the quiet mysteries behind the rise of Friar Ser Duncan the Tall begins long before he becomes a legendary knight of the Seven Kingdoms. It starts with the man who raised him, Ser Arlan of Pennytree. When the story opens in The Hedge Knight, the first tale collected in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R. R. Martin, Dunk is standing beside a shallow grave. Inside that grave lies Ser Arlan, the old hedge knight who found Dunk as a poor boy in Flea Bottom and raised him as his squire. For years, the two of them wandered the Seven Kingdoms together, living the rough life of hedge knights. They slept in stables, repaired old armor again and again, and rode from one small job to another just to survive. But by the time their journey to Ashford begins, Ser Arlan is already old and weak. His armor is rusted, his horse is aging, and eventually, during their journey, he becomes sick and dies on the road. Dunk buries him beneath a tree, and in that moment a frightening realization hits him. He is still only a squire. Without a knight to serve, Dunk has no future, no family, no money, no place in the world. So Dunk does the only thing he can do to survive. He takes Ser Arlan's armor, his shield, and his horse, and continues toward the tournament calling himself Ser Duncan the Tall. But when people later ask Dunk where he was knighted, he tells them something interesting. He says, Ser Arlan knighted him shortly before he died. Yet the story quietly plants several clues suggesting that might not be the whole truth. The hidden clue in the book. The interesting clue many readers talk about comes from how Ser Arlan of Pennytree is described throughout The Hedge Knight. And when you look closely at those details, a subtle possibility begins to emerge. Ser Arlan himself may never have been formally knighted. This idea comes from several hints George R. R. Martin placed inside the story. The first clue is Arlan's extremely poor background. Ser Arlan is introduced as a wandering hedge knight who owns very little. His armor is old, mismatched, and clearly patched together from years of use. He travels from place to place taking small jobs simply to earn food or a few coins. Now, many hedge knights in Westeros are legitimate warriors who simply lack land or wealth. But history inside the Seven Kingdoms also tells us that some men claimed the title of knight without ever receiving the ceremony, because the title gave them respect and made it easier to find work. Ser Arlan's life strongly resembles that kind of wandering knight, someone surviving on reputation rather than status. The second clue involves Dunk himself. Later in the story, during the famous Trial of Seven at Ashford, Dunk gathers allies to defend himself after confronting the cruel Targaryen prince, Aerion Targaryen. One of the men who volunteers to fight beside him is Raymond Fossaway. But there's a problem. Raymond isn't a knight yet, and only knights can participate in the trial. Normally, this would be a simple solution. Any knight can perform the knighting ceremony, which means Dunk should be able to knight Raymond himself. But something strange happens. Dunk hesitates. Instead of performing the ceremony, he lets Lionel Baratheon step forward and knight Raymond instead. That hesitation feels extremely important, because if Dunk had truly been knighted by Ser Arlan, he should know exactly how the ritual works, but he clearly avoids doing it. And that moment suggests something surprising. Dunk may never have seen the ceremony performed properly at all. The third clue is the story Dunk tells about his own knighting. Whenever people ask where he became a knight, Dunk explains that Ser Arlan knighted him shortly before he died. But he adds a strange little detail. He says the only witness was a bird sitting in a tree. At first that line sounds almost humorous, but George R. R. Martin writes it in a way that feels intentionally suspicious, because if no one witnessed the ceremony, there is no proof it ever happened. What this might really mean. When you combine these clues together, many readers arrive at a fascinating theory. Ser Arlan may have taken the title of knight without ever being knighted himself, and if that were true, it would mean he technically did not have the authority to knight Dunk. So when Arlan died on the road, Dunk was left in an impossible situation. He had the armor, he had the training, but he did not have the title. So Dunk did what he had to do. He carried on the name of a knight so he could survive. But here's the powerful part of the story. Even if the ceremony never happened, Ser Arlan still spent years teaching Dunk what knighthood truly means. Honor, loyalty, protecting the weak, standing up against cruelty. Those lessons shaped the man Dunk would become. And that creates one of the most powerful themes in the entire Dunk and Egg story. Because throughout the Seven Kingdoms, many men who carry the title Sir behave selfishly or cruelly. Prince Aerion is a knight, yet he burns innocent people for his own amusement. Many tournament knights chase fame and gold rather than justice. But Dunk, the boy who might not technically be a knight at all, constantly does the opposite. He protects the helpless, he stands against powerful nobles, and he risks his life to defend people who cannot defend themselves. In other words, Dunk lives by the true ideals of knighthood, even if the ceremony never happened. The real message of the story. And that's what makes this mystery so meaningful, because in the end, the story of Ser Duncan the Tall asks a powerful question. What truly makes someone a knight? Is it the ceremony or is it the choices a person makes? Because even if neither Ser Arlan nor Dunk were technically knights, Dunk eventually becomes one of the most honorable warriors in the history of Westeros. Years later, he will rise to become a legendary member of the Kingsguard and a protector of kings, which means the boy who once doubted whether he deserved the title eventually becomes the very definition of a true knight. And that might be the greatest lesson Ser Arlan ever gave him, because in the Seven Kingdoms, a title alone means nothing. A title doesn't make someone a knight. Their actions do.